This is an introduction to ratios. You need to make sure that you have your ratios notes page. You need to fill it out completely. So pause the video whenever needed so that you can stay caught up. Okay, let's fill in the blank. A ratio is a multiplicative comparison of two quantities. So what do we mean by multiplicative? We mean that there is a relationship between the quantities by multiplication. And ratios can be what we call part to part, part to whole, or whole to part comparisons. So taking a look at our picture, we show that there's a ratio of 3 cats to 6 dogs. So if you look, there are 6 dogs surrounding the 3 cats. And they look like scaredy cats. Ha ha ha. Okay, so the 3 different ways to write ratios. It's 3 different forms. The first way is to use the word to. To is your big clue word. To, when you see that word to and you've got something in front of it and behind it that you're comparing, that's telling you, hey, you need to write a ratio. So the 3 to 6, 3 cats to 6 dogs could be written with the word to, 3 to 6. It can also be written with a colon in between the 2 numbers. And this is still read 3 to 6. And then the other way is to write it in fraction form, 3 to 6, where you read the fraction bar using the word to. But you need to be careful because just like fractions, we need to express ratios in simplest forms. So if we were to take this fraction form here and we were to simplify it, just like we do a fraction, it would simplify to a 1 to 2 ratio. We divide both by 3 and we get 1 to 2. Which means as a colon, it would be 1 to 2, and using the word to, it would be 1 to 2. So these are the 3 different ways you can see ratios expressed. Using the word to, using the colon, which represents the word to, or writing it in fraction form. What exactly does this ratio mean, this 1 to 2 ratio means? It means that for every 1 cat, there are 2 dogs. And we can show that. So for this cat, there are 2 dogs. For this cat, there are 2 dogs. And for this scaredy cat, there are 2 dogs. Caution. You need to pay careful attention to the order of the words. The order of the words tells you the way to write your ratio. What number comes first in your ratio? So the ratio of cats to dogs, here cats and dogs are underlined. Let's circle the word to. It's very important to circle that word to because you can now see that first comes the cats and then the dogs. So the number of cats was 1 and the number of dogs was 2. So the ratio is 1 to 2. This type of ratio is what we call a part to part comparison. We're comparing parts, the different parts of the group of animals. Okay, the parts we're comparing are the cats and the dogs. Now, look at this ratio, the ratio of dogs to cats. This time we want to write the number of dogs first. So our ratio is going to be a 2 to 1 ratio. Again, this is a part to part ratio. We're comparing the parts of the group of animals. The ratio of cats to total animals. Okay, well if we go back and we look at our animals, there's a total of 9 animals. There are 3 cats and 6 dogs. So the number of cats would be 3 to a total of 9 animals. But be careful because this is not simplified. So we need to go ahead and simplify it. Divide it by 3 and you get a 1 to 3 ratio. This is what we call a part to whole comparison. We're comparing a part of the group, the cat's parts, to the whole group, to all the animals. Excuse me. And then we have the ratio of, let's circle the word two, total animals to dogs. So again, there are 9 total animals, and out of the 9 total animals, 6 of them were dogs. And we need to simplify, so I can divide by 3, and I get a 3:2 ratio. And this is what we call a whole to part comparison. We're comparing the whole group, all of the animals, to part of the group, to the dog part. So let's go back and revisit the video, the Bad Date Math Snacks video that we watched, and see how the ratios apply. So in the Bad Date video, the ratio of Isabella's words to her date's words was 25 to 175. And in simplest form, this was a 1:7 ratio. So how can we write this 2 other ways? Well, the 3 different ways of writing was with the word to, which is what they have here, using the colon to represent the word to, so 1:7, or writing it in fraction form. That's a better 7. This means that for every 1 word that Isabella spoke, her date spoke 7 words. And date number 2, the ratio of her words to his words was 36 to 6. So we want to write this ratio in simplest form 3 different ways. It's always best to first write the ratio in fraction form. So it's 36 to 6, so 36 to 6. And this kind of gets you in the mode of realizing that you need to simplify and easily seeing that you could divide both by 6, and that would give you a 6:1 ratio. So the 3 different ways: use the word to, use the colon, or put it in the fraction form. And what exactly does this mean? This means that for every 6 words that Isabella speaks, for every 6 words she speaks, he speaks how many? He speaks 1. So what would it look like in the picture? It would be talk, 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 talk. So she would be talk, 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 and he would be talk. So for every 6 words she spoke, he spoke 1 word. All right, so let's do some practice. Okay. At summer camp, there are 5 counselors and 13 campers in every cabin. We're going to write each ratio requested in 3 different ways. So the first ratio, they want campers to counselors. Circle the word to, and what are we comparing? Campers and then counselors. So how many campers are there? 13. How many counselors are there? 5. 13 to 5 ratio, campers to counselors. So this is one method. The other way is to write it using the word to. So 13 to 5, and then with the colon. And this ratio, I wrote it in fraction form first because I wanted to make sure that to see if it needed to be simplified or not. All right? So counselors to people in the come back to this one, campers to counselors. This is a part-to-part relationship. We're just comparing the parts of the people that are in the cabin. But when we go to our next example, counselors to people in the cabin, this is going to be a part to whole. We want just part of the people, and we're going to compare it to all of the people, or the total number of people in the cabin. So let's write a ratio. How many counselors? 5. And to find the total people in the cabin, we need to add. The only people in the cabin are the counselors and the campers. So we add the 5 plus 13 and we get 18. That does not need to be simplified, so we can continue to write it the other 2 ways. So it would be a 5 to 18, or with the colon 5 to 18. In a bag of cashews and almonds, there are 3 times as many cashews as almonds. What is the ratio of cashews to almonds? So we're comparing cashews to almonds. Okay, how many cashews? Well, 3 times as many almonds. So if we have 1 almond, how many cashews would that be? That would be 3. So our ratio is going to be a 3-to-1 ratio. Write it the 3 different ways. And now I would like for you to work the next example on your own, pause the video, and then come back and check your answer. Okay, at a small school there are 125 students for every 5 teachers. What is the ratio of teachers to students? So we're comparing teachers to students. So looking at our problem, how many teachers are there? There are 5 teachers. And how many students are there? There are 125 students. So we have a ratio of 5 to 125, and this can be simplified. We can divide both by 5, and that's going to give us a ratio of 1 to 25. Write it the other 2 ways, 1 to 25, and with the colon, 1 to 25. And teachers to students, this would be a part-to-part ratio. Okay, now you're ready for your independent practice.